Now, over the weekend, embattled Secretary of Interior head Ryan Zinke announced his resignation at the end of the year. So, can we say it? Down goes Zinke. Down goes Zinke. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. While this is no doubt a little bit of a win when it comes to massive corruption, as that is what Zinke is known for, unfortunately it means very little for the environment, and as well as targeting the actual corruption that is normalized in Washington. Now, according to the New York Times, Deputy Secretary David Bernhardt will be taking over for Zinke for the time being. That is until, of course, Congress can approve someone else, which means Donald Trump has to pick someone who is likely also going to be terrible. Now, the thing about Bernhardt is, again, we're not going to see much change because he's a former oil lobbyist who has helped enact President Trump's agenda of rolling back regulations and opening up public lands to both drilling and mining. Now, they also note that while Zinke was the public face of this, the man behind the curtain, the one who was actually pushing the policies, was Bernhardt. So now we found out who's actually been pushing this the entire time, all of these rollbacks. And now he's going to be in charge, at least for the time being. Great. Now, these policies, of course, have been disastrous for the environment so far. For example, he oversaw a controversial revision of a program to protect tens of millions of acres of habitat for something called the sage grouse. Now, why would they want to roll that back? Well, it turns out the sage grouse roams over 10 oil-rich western states. Oh, so we're just, and by the way, that is an endangered species now. So, goodbye sage grouse, because, hey man, we got money to make. We gotta drill that oil, drill baby drill. And that's Bernhardt. Now, Mr. Bernhardt's proposal, continues the Times, to change that plan would strip away protections from about 9 million acres of the sage grouse habitat, which would open up more land to oil and gas drilling than any other single policy action by the Trump administration. This means a massive payday for the fossil fuel industry. The sage grouse, who cares about the sage grouse? We don't mean money. There's money in them damn ground. I was going to say them dar hills, but you know what I'm saying. Now, the thing is that this guy, Bernhardt, was an oil lobbyist. So now him taking this position, it sets up a conflict of interest. Now, of course, in the article, they mention how, well, since this guy is a Washington insider, he actually won't be drawing as much attention as Zinke because he's not as openly corrupt. That's some bullshit. Now, you're telling me, because he's not as corrupt as Ryan Zinke, that he's going to be left alone, even though he's doing these disastrous policies. They're not going to really pay much attention to him. And by they, I mean, of course, establishment media. Now, left-wing groups, environmental groups, of course, are deeply, deeply upset because look at what he's doing to the environment. Look at what he's doing in the name of corporate profits. But that's the difference, right? He is basically establishment corrupt, which means, he's okay, I guess. He'll be fine. But the thing is, conflict of interest. Look, the thing is, he has a massive conflict of interest because what he does, indirectly, affects his former clients. They benefit greatly from his policies. Now, under Zinke, for example, and in reality, of course, Bernhardt, the agency has opened up the East Coast to offshore oil and gas drilling for the first time. Who does that benefit? Oil and gas companies. He's also loosened the standards of the Endangered Species Act, again, allowing these companies to drill and mine and frack in these places where there are endangered species. Who cares about the endangered species? You know what's not endangered? You know what I don't want endangered? My corporate profits, my bottom line. So let's go, let's go. Let's drill, baby, drill. Not only that, he's weakened safety regulations for offshore drilling equipment and reduced the boundaries of national monuments to open up the land to mining and drilling. And of course, that ends up helping his former clients from back when he was a lobbyist. In fact, we have some examples. Back in November of 2017, the Interior Department's Bureau of Land Management granted a permit to Eni, that is an Italian oil company and a former client of Mr. Bernhardt's, to drill in federal Arctic waters. The permit, the first granted to a company since 2015, came just months after Mr. Bernhardt was confirmed to his job. The agency has given out many similar drilling permits since then. There's more. Mr. Bernhardt's plan to weaken the protection of the sage grouse also translate into a victory for his former oil industry clients, who have long sought such a change. In particular, his former client, the Independent Petroleum Association of America, has pressed for years to reduce federal protection measures on the habitat of the sage grouse, much of which is believed to contain rich deposits of fossil fuels. And in March, after he did that, guess what happened? The Independent Petroleum Association, as well as another group of oil companies, wrote to Mr. Bernhardt to thank him for his work on actions that, quote, rescinded and revised mitigation policies that far exceed statutory authority. These companies also listed policies that they hoped Bernhardt would change, including the sage grouse plan. So, oh look, he deregulates and allows industry to drill and mine and frack everywhere, and they send him a thank you letter. You know what else they're going to send him? Probably a lot of money, or at least in the form of job offers, to be a lobbyist once he's left office. But of course, because, you know, people will defend him, the administration defends him, of course, because, oh, no. That's not him helping his former clients. I mean, his former clients just happen to be helped by that policy, but he's not singling them out and giving them preferential treatment. Oh, okay, well, apparently that's not corruption. What a ridiculous joke. What is considered corruption versus not corruption is laughable. I mean, look, he is clearly helping his former clients so that when he gets out of office, he's going to get a job, he's going to get a nice paycheck. That is corruption. Now, Zinke was terrible because he was taking personal trips. He was using government money for personal things. And of course, you're not supposed to do that. That's Zinke's corruption. It is far more personal corruption. But the kind of corruption that Mr. Bernhardt was involved in and will be involved in is systemic corruption. If you think that removing Zinke was the end of the swamp, oh, no. You're mistaken. They took the swamp water out and they replaced it with a less scummy version of swamp water. Which is, guess what? Still swamp water. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.